Today was a very different day in court than it was on Wednesday. All three defendants spoke and apologized for the roles they played in the murder of Alishah Pointer. Now, these three are the ones that took the plea deals. They cooperated with the investigation and also testified as needed, all of which the judge took into consideration when handing down their sentences.
She turned 22 at midnight. By sunrise, her life was already in danger. In a basement no one knew she'd been taken to. No goodbye text, no 911 call, just a car she got into. Investigators later believed she recognized someone inside. Her friends texted happy birthday while she was already gone. Her mother called twice before bed, assuming her daughter was out celebrating. She was, just not the way anyone imagined. 4 days. That's how long she stayed in that house, undiscovered, while the city printed flyers and her family stopped eating. 4 days while the people responsible posted on social media, went to work, slept in clean sheets. Some suspects later appeared publicly concerned while knowing more than they admitted, typed, "Praying for you, sis," then locked their phone and said nothing. Why did she get in that car without hesitation? What happened between 1 a.m. and sunrise that 6 people agreed to keep secret? And why did a neighbor hear a woman scream at 3 a.m. and choose the volume button over 911? Trust killed her before anything else did. This isn't a story about a stranger in the dark. It's about the people already inside her life. You're watching The Exposed Crime. We tell the stories that need to be told. Domestic violence, toxic relationships, and the lives lost behind closed doors. No sugarcoating, no excuses, just the truth. If you're new here, subscribe and join us as we shed light on stories. Shortly after midnight on her birthday, her phone lit up like a slot machine. Birthday texts stacked on top of each other, heart emojis, fire emojis, voice notes she hadn't opened yet. She sat on her best friend's couch, barefoot, sipping from a red cup, laughing at something that doesn't matter anymore. Less than an hour later, she stepped outside to take a call, porch light buzzing above her, breath visible in the November air. A dark sedan idled at the curb, engine running, headlights off. She knew the car. No panic, no pause. She leaned into the passenger window, exchanged a few words, then opened the door and sat down. The dome light caught her face for half a second, still smiling, before the door shut and the car pulled off eastbound on East Cleveland Street. Her best friend noticed she was gone 14 minutes later, texted her, "Where you go? LOL. Delivered, not read." Back inside, her jacket hung on the arm of the couch. One shoe sat by the door. She'd slipped on someone else's slides to step outside. Her drink still had condensation running down the side. The room preserved her like a photograph that didn't know it was the last one. By 2 a.m., calls went straight to voicemail. By 3 a.m., her phone's last known signal placed her in East Cleveland, a block known more for its vacancies than its residents. Her best friend called her mother at 7 a.m. She didn't say something's wrong. She said, "I can't find her." 3 words that landed like a brick through glass. By noon, a missing person report was filed. Her birthday selfie, gold hoops, red lip, head tilted, flash catching the glitter on her cheekbones, was stapled to telephone poles beside the word "missing" in capital letters. The same photo had 200 likes 12 hours earlier. Now it had a case number. And here's what no one knew yet. The car she climbed into wasn't making one stop. Cell tower records would later show it visited 3 locations in 90 minutes, picking up passengers each time. She thought she was getting a ride. She was being collected. The cake her mother bought sat in the fridge, candles still in the grocery bag. 22 pink candles, never unwrapped. 3:07 a.m. Her phone sent its last signal, one ping off a tower near Etna Road in East Cleveland, then silence, the kind that swallows a person whole.
He spoke.
I hate that they all can't get life. They took my daughter's life.
One of these defendants, Nathaniel, I can't wrap my mind around how could you see her and look at her and not do nothing, not help her.
Investigators would later map that signal alongside 6 other phones. All 6 devices moved together between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., converging, splitting, reconverging, like a formation, like a plan rehearsed before it was executed. At 3:22 a.m., a man on Terrace Road let his dog out. He heard a woman's voice, not screaming, but pleading, controlled, tired, the kind of voice that's already yelling and knows it isn't working anymore. He stood on his porch for 11 seconds. His Ring camera confirmed this, then walked back inside. 11 seconds. That's how close she came to someone choosing differently. Inside the house on Hayden Avenue, no electricity, no running water, plywood over every window. Forensic teams later cataloged what those hours left behind. A single acrylic nail, lavender-colored, embedded in a wooden baseboard. A strip of fabric from a gold-colored top snagged on a nail near the basement door frame. A kitchen chair overturned, with drag marks on the linoleum stretching 4 feet towards the basement stairs. 4 feet of fight, documented in scratches on a floor nobody had mopped in years. But the detail that made a seasoned detective set down his pen and leave the room was this. Her phone's last outgoing activity wasn't a call, it was a draft text, never sent, recovered during extraction. 3 words. "It's them, please." She tried. The message sat in her outbox like a hand reaching through a closing door, fingers visible, but no one on the other side to grab them. Between 4 a.m. and dawn, the 6 phones scattered. 2 went home to East Cleveland addresses. 1 powered off near a gas station on St. Clair. 3 stopped transmitting entirely. By the time the sun rose, her fate was already sealed in concrete and silence. The people responsible were already home.
I asked the family if there's anybody to forgive. And he paid. He was forced. He's not even supposed to be alive.
In the end,
One
the
made
judge
a pot of coffee. Another plugged their phone to charge. A third, the one who drove the Altima, clocked in to a warehouse shift at 7 a.m. and worked a full 8 hours. She was still in that basement, and they packed lunch. November 18th, 4 days later, a postal worker flagged a smell coming from 4221 Hayden Avenue. Not unusual for the block. Vacant houses collected rot the way other houses collected dust, but this was different. Sharp, heavy, the kind of smell that sits in your throat and won't leave. 2 patrol officers forced the front door at 2:15 p.m. Inside, collapsed ceiling tiles, water-stained walls, newspapers from 2019 spread across the floor like dead leaves. The air was thick enough to chew. The basement door was closed, a cinder block pressed against it from the outside. Someone had blocked the door, not to keep people out, but to make sure nothing was discovered too soon. Officer Darnell Williams descended first, 6 steps down, flashlight beam cutting through particulate air. He saw the mattress before he saw her, stained, torn, pushed against the far wall beneath a window painted shut. She was still wearing the gold top from her birthday, one shoe missing, hands unclenched, eyes open. He called it in with a voice he later described as "not mine."
40 minutes later, the block was sealed. Yellow tape, evidence techs in white suits, a coroner's van parked where children usually rode bikes. Her mother arrived at 3:40 p.m., before any official confirmation, because a mother doesn't need a detective to tell her what she already feels in the architecture of her chest. She saw the coroner's van and dropped, not to her knees, all the way down, palms flat on the asphalt. A sound came out of her that a neighbor 3 doors down later called the worst thing I've heard in 40 years of living on this street. Social media turned in real time. The hashtag shifted from Find Her to Rip Angel. Birthday photos reposted with candle emojis. Strangers grieving a girl they never met because her smile looked like their sister's, their daughter's, their own. How does a woman disappear in a city of 400,000 and spend 4 days in a house 12 minutes from where she was last seen? Forensics recovered 23 pieces of physical evidence from that basement, each one bagged, tagged, and carried out in silence. Small objects now carrying the full weight of a life that should have lasted decades longer. The first arrest happened November 21st, 3 days after the discovery. No sirens, no SWAT. Detectives pulled up to a duplex on Knowles Avenue, knocked twice, and a 24-year-old man answered in sweatpants and a do-rag. He didn't run, he didn't speak. He turned around and put his hands behind his back like he'd been expecting them. The second arrest came that evening, the third by morning. Within a week, 6 people were in custody, ages 19 to 31, 4 men, 2 women. She didn't die among strangers. She died among contacts saved with nicknames and inside jokes. One of the women arrested had commented on her birthday post at 12:03 a.m. "Happy B-Day, gorgeous. 22 looks good on you. Pink heart." Roughly 44 minutes before climbing into the Altima that would take her to Hayden Avenue. Another suspect, the one who shared her missing poster with the caption, "Praying for you, sis," was in the room when she died. Interrogation footage leaked months later. One suspect folded in 20 minutes, talking fast, blaming everyone else, asking what kind of deal he could get before a lawyer was even present. Another went silent, sat with arms crossed and eyes on the ceiling for 6 hours. Said one sentence the entire time, "I want my mom." The 6th suspect, the driver, broke differently. Midway through questioning, he put his face in his hands and whispered something the microphone almost missed. She kept asking to go home. She kept asking, and not one of them opened the door. Prosecutors built the timeline on a 6-foot whiteboard. Red lines connecting names to locations, blue dots for phone pings, green for vehicle sightings. It looked like a nervous system, every connection firing toward the same fatal conclusion. The motive? Investigators described it in court documents as a dispute, personal, petty, rooted in a grudge that could have been settled with a conversation. Instead, 6 people chose the worst possible answer to a problem that barely qualified as one. Her family sat behind the prosecution table every hearing, same bench, same shirts. Her mother brought the framed birthday photo and set it on her lap, facing the defendants every single time. She never said a word during proceedings. She didn't have to. That photo did all the talking. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Sentencing fell on a Tuesday in March, 17 months after her birthday. Courtroom 14B filled before the doors officially opened. Her family occupied the first 2 rows, matching black shirts this time. Her face screen-printed in white ink, Hallow edited above her head, birth and death dates underneath. 22 years reduced to a dash between 2 numbers.
the lead defendant received life without parole. The gavel came down, and her aunt let out a single sob, then covered her mouth like she was embarrassed for feeling relief. 3 co-defendants received 28 to life. 1 got 15 to life after cooperating. The last, the youngest, age 19 at the time, received 20 years. She stared at the floor as the sentence was read, lips moving slightly, counting years she wouldn't get back. She'd be almost 40 when she walks out, if she walks out. 6 sentences, 6 lives rearranged, and still that empty chair at Thanksgiving stays empty. Her mother approached the microphone last during victim impact statements. She didn't bring notes, didn't raise her voice. She held the framed photo against her chest, the same one from every hearing, and spoke 7 words into a silent room. "You took her voice, so I'll scream." She didn't scream. She didn't need to. The sentence landed harder in a whisper. The courtroom exhaled like it had been holding its breath for 17 months. Outside, reporters asked the family if justice had been served. Her older brother answered, the only one who could. He said, "Justice is a word for courts. We just wanted her home for Christmas." The house on Hayden Avenue was demolished in June. The lot is empty now. Cracked foundation, wild grass, a chain-link fence missing 2 panels. Cars pass without slowing. New residents on the block push strollers past the spot where evidence teams once knelt with tweezers and UV lights. But every November 14th, without fail, balloons rise from that empty lot, pink, white, gold, released by hands that still tremble, climbing past rooftops and telephone wires into a sky that never answers back. Her name is still spoken. Her photo is still shared. Her story is still here, not as a headline, but as a warning, a reminder, a scar that refuses to flatten. She was 22. She deserved 23. If this story reached you, if it stirred something in your chest, don't let it fade when the video ends. These cases remind us that danger can hide in the everyday, that silence can cost lives, and that sometimes the smallest voice can be the one that saves someone. If you know anybody in a violent or unsafe situation, don't wait. Say something. Call for help. Speak up. Your voice might be the one thing standing between someone and a tragedy like this. Drop a comment. Share this video. Keep their names alive, and we'll be back with another story that needs to be told. This is the Exposed Crime. Stay safe out there.